We're here at CyberScoop's Zero Trust Summit with Mischa Beckett, Cyber Solution Expert at GDIT. Mischa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So first let me ask, how are tools like enterprise-wide identity management and multi-factor authentication platforms enabling agencies to protect their applications as well as their data and users?
I think it's reasonable that a lot of agencies start there because identity is the first pillar of zero trust. So certainly things like identity-wide or enterprise-wide identity access management, really good phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication. These are really important first steps in a thorough zero trust implementation. I think it's important, though, that we understand that true zero trust maturity is only achieved when you're looking across all those five pillars, not just to focus on identity. And the thing I would say, is that this is really a paradigm shift. We're going from the days where once you were across the perimeter, you were considered trusted and free to move about, and really shifting. The cyber attack landscape has changed dramatically in the last 2 years plus since the pandemic, and I think we've seen advanced persistent threat actors really adapt well. And I think ideally what zero trust and maturity across all the zero trust pillars does is enable the US government to react, to better defend and deter those highly sophisticated threat actors.
And then what are some of the new and emerging technology solutions that are enabling federal agencies to thwart cyber attacks?
It's a great question. So I would point to sort of two key families of emerging technologies. The first is really around zero trust network access tools, which is supporting VPN-less access, which is much more secure. And the second would be to point towards microsegmentation. And this is really essentially the idea that how can you limit the damage an attacker does once they breach your systems? How do you limit lateral movement, limit that impact to any intrusion? So those are kind of the two big families of emerging technologies that I would point to. And I would say that GDIT works well with partners across those emerging technologies to bring them into the federal space to help mature programs for agencies across all the spectrum of zero trust architecture.
How are zero trust architectures enabling agencies to categorize and manage and protect government data while also ensuring secure innovation?
Okay. So data is a key pillar of zero trust. And I think GDIT's approach with sort of the zero trust enabler is to really take a good baseline, right? So what data do we have? Where does it reside? How does it flow? You really need to understand the answers to all these things to be able to protect the data, which is ideally what zero trust is doing for you, is it's giving you a much more risk-based approach to accessing data. So that categorization is really essential for us. And then you'll start to reap the benefits of zero trust, period. Like a better user experience, a more risk-based approach to accessing data. Really, GDIT is harnessing that kind of built-in security cloud infrastructure. So you're going at things with the zero trust tools enabled versus building on security after the fact, the way we tended to do in kind of the perimeter days.
And then lastly, looking ahead, how have you seen the executive order and zero trust policies shaping investments in long-term digital and cyber strategies?
So I think that it makes sense that many agencies are probably initially focused on the executive order and kind of the OMB requirements, right? So I think that makes some sense as a starting place. But I think it's important to note that focusing on those as kind of checkboxes or compliance gets us a compliant system. It doesn't necessarily get us a secure system. And that's where I think zero trust is a little bit different than box checking. It is really a paradigm shift for us in how we look at things. Zero trust is relatively young still. I think GDIT has really been on the zero trust train for a while, and certainly the executive order, OMB requirements have really accelerated that in recent years. The good news is I think we see tremendous benefits from a shift to zero trust. We have much better visibility, which makes for much better defenses. We have an improved user experience. We have harnessing kind of cloud native tools and technology. So there's a lot to be gained from this shift over time.
Well, Mischa Beckett, thank you so much for joining us here at the Zero Trust Summit.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.